Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Fiction Network. Full-level comprehension. I become a Taoist in the fantasy world. Chen Mo traveled to the fantasy world and became a member of the ancient human race, inspiring a full level of intelligence talent. In this era, all ancient tribes were revered, and the human race was in a state of turmoil. Chen Mo led the human race on the journey to the highest level of Taoism. You combine the ancient holy body with the innate Tao fetus to create the body of all paths. You have created new laws based on the perfect law, the sky-covering law, and opened up new paths for all spirits. You comprehend all the great ways of the world, and with a single thought of preaching, it is for the realm of Dalai Lama, you adopt the chaos demon god bloodline, forcibly gather the 3,000 laws, and create the heavenly way, traveling through all the heavens and realms. I, Chen Mo, am the founder of Taoism. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. The Mysterious World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. God sealed the mountain. This is not just a mountain, but a continuous and undulating mountain range that covers countless miles. In such mountains, there are countless human races living here. There are countless human races gathered here. In such a vast mountain range, there are both ordinary humans and those who have achieved success in cultivation. Most ordinary human beings live in plains within the mountains, while those with certain cultivation abilities mostly open their own cultivation paths on the mountains. For many human races, the cultivation and inheritance that belong to the human race in the mountains are also pursued by many human races. Of course, not everyone has the ability to cultivate, so in this territory, there are also ordinary human races. It is such a huge divine sealed mountain that gathers countless human races, and when placed in this mystical world, it is only a small piece of land. This sacred mountain range belongs to the jurisdiction of the Dozhan Saint Ape tribe. That's right, the human race in the Shenfeng mountain is considered to be under the protection of the Fighting Ape clan. In this terrifying fantasy world, the Battle Saint Ape clan is considered the top race, and there are also some ancient races similar to the Battle Saint Ape clan. And from this situation, it is enough to illustrate that in this mystical world, the current situation of the human race is not very good. At this moment, the gods seal the mountain and the gate. Oh, I didn't expect to travel through such a dangerous era. A man in green stood on a protruding rock in a big mountain, gazing into the distant sea of clouds, and whispered. That's right, the man in green in front of him is not a creature from the original world. He came through the process of plundering and becoming a human race called Chen Mo in this world. Chen Mo, a disciple of the Taoist sect, now has the four extremes realm. The realms of this world are Luanhai, Daogong, Siji, Hualong, and Sendai. As long as you break through the realm of Sendai, then in this world, it can also be considered a great power that can suppress the world. Even if one becomes a dragon slayer, they can still be considered as the strongest among many racial forces. As for the quadrupole realm, it depends on who it belongs to. If it is a creature that has been practicing for a short time, then the other person can be called a genius. If it is a creature that has been practicing for hundreds or thousands of years, then it is nothing. Of course, compared to Luanhai and Daogong, Siji is also considered a small expert in the field. As a disciple of the Taoist sect, Chen Mo can also be called a genius when placed in the sect. For decades, Chen Mo was a human race who never understood cultivation, and now he has become a master with the four extremes realm. But as Chen Mo, who had traveled through time, after accepting the relevant memories, he understood that Chen Mo's ability to reach the four extremes in such a short period of time was also due to a reason. That is because it has depleted its own potential and future, forcing a breakthrough, which enables Chen Mo to make continuous breakthroughs in a short period of time and become a quadrupole powerhouse. However, the reason why the traveler Chen Mo was able to come over this time was also because Chen Mo in this world had a mistake in his own cultivation, which ultimately caused a backlash and suffered heavy damage. On his deathbed, Chen Mo traveled to this world and lost him. In the eyes of the traveler Chen Mo, this world is called Chen Mo, which may also be a kind of fate. So, as a traveler for Chen Mo, he also has a certain understanding of this world. If it is just an ordinary human race, perhaps there are not many channels to understand this world, then as a quadrupole, Chen Mo still has such qualifications and strength. This is a terrifying fantasy world. The human race is in an extremely disadvantaged position in this world, with countless ancient tribes standing tall in this world. And the human race can only be under the protection of all the ancient tribes. For example, human races like Chen Mo are under the protection of the Fighting Ape clan, and in this world, there are also other human races under the protection of some ancient tribes. In the eyes of some Taiku people, the human race is like ants, slaves, and the objects they ravage freely. Fortunately, as a member of the Fighting Ape tribe among the ancient tribes, they have different thoughts and still have some favorable feelings towards the human race under their protection. The Dozhan Holy Ape clan did not bully the human race under their protection much. On this land, in addition to the Fighting Monkey clan, there are also many ancient imperial clans that can fight against it, such as Shinchan Ridge, Blood Phoenix Mountain, Hualin Cave, Wanlong Nest, and so on. They stand at the top of the pyramid of heaven and earth on this side. And besides these top races, there are also other ancient races. There are countless races in ancient times, and the literal meaning can be seen that this land has an extremely large number of races. From the relevant memories, Chen Mo found that this world was slightly similar to his own memory. That is the novel and book I read before traveling, Covering the Sky. Moreover, the era I lived in was still the ancient period when the human race was in a disadvantaged position. More importantly, this world of obscurity is slightly different from the one in memory. Because in this world, those ancient emperor-level powerhouses appeared in this world almost at the same time, and there is no situation like in later generations where only one great emperor can appear in one era. Regarding this, Chen Mo was not too surprised. After all he knows is novels, and the world he is currently traveling to is the real world. The ancient emperor-level powerhouses stand tall in this Beidou star domain. It is truly a brilliant and dazzling era. Chen Mo sighed softly and then shook his head with a bitter smile. Now he doesn't want to care about the situation of the human race in this world, or how wonderful this world is. The most important thing for Chen Mo nowadays is how to recover from his injuries. That's right, although Chen Mo traveled through time and made this world's Chen Mo survive. But the serious damage caused by Chen Mo's cultivation cannot disappear. Even if Chen Mo inherited the memories of this world, he still felt a headache for his injuries. That kind of fundamental damage. Unless it is a Sendai-level powerhouse, there may be some ways, and even some genius treasures need to be invested to achieve it. But can Chen Mo make the Sendai powerhouse do this? Chapter 2. Overwhelming Understanding. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Daomen. Among the human forces in the Shinfeng Mountain, it is also a truly top-notch force. So it's hard to say who is truly the top Sendai powerhouse. But it's just an ordinary Sendai powerhouse, that's impossible to lack. Not to mention anything else, just talk about the sect leader, who is the strong leader of Sendai. There is also a reason why the human race can become the next group of protagonists in the world after the dramatic changes of the times. Perhaps there are not many truly peak-strong individuals, but at the Sendai level, it is still impossible to stop the human race from breaking through in cultivation. So if Chen Mo really looks for the Sendai powerhouse, to some extent, it can also be achieved. But would Taoist masters do this? If Chen Mo is the peerless genius of the human race, then the powerful Xiantai of the human race will not give up on the peerless genius no matter what resources are invested. After all, that is the seed of the human race standing tall in this world. The more powerful there are, and even in this world, there are ancient emperor-level strong people in the human race, so the human race may not need the protection of the ancient 10,000 tribes. Although the Fighting Ape clan treated them well and did not bully them. But the feeling of being under the shelter of others is still not very good. So, self-improvement of the human race is the idea in the hearts of many high-level members of the human race. You should know that these human races also sought refuge under some other ancient tribes before being protected by the fighting ape clan. At that time, the bullying that their human race suffered was vivid in their memory. It wasn't until this group of humans received protection from the fighting ape tribe that they finally settled down. So, the human race needs to rely on themselves, which is the answer that the human race has come up with after experiencing countless dark times. To achieve peace and gain power, one needs to rely on the human race itself. Chen Mo, being able to transform from an ordinary person to a quadruple powerhouse in decades is also considered a genius. But as a traveler, Chen Mo, who gained relevant memories, understood that his genius still had a lot of moisture to some extent. Originally, Chen Mo was able to cultivate to the level of the four extremes in this world, largely due to the cultivation of his own techniques. Dao men, in general, are the cultivation techniques of their own sect, but Chen Mo is different. The technique he cultivates is called Nirvana magic technique. Being able to be called a magic skill can naturally be reflected in the technique. Consume your future potential and accelerate your strength growth, but this magic skill is not just flawed. As long as you can successfully achieve Nirvana, the damage you have suffered in the past can be restored. Just to achieve Nirvana, one needs to obtain the flame of Nirvana. The fire of Nirvana is said to be possessed only by the phoenix, which is a true divine beast. In this field of the Big Dipper, no one has seen it before. So practicing Nirvana magic is completely a dead end. The quadruple is already Chen Mo's limit. In the end, he encountered problems during his cultivation, which led to a backlash and was taken away by Chen Mo. So, if he seeks out the powerful members of the human race Sendai from Dao men, then his own problems will definitely be discovered. A human race without potential, a strong Taoist sect may not spend a lot of resources to save Chen Mo. After all, Chen Mo did not make any contribution to the human race. In addition, although Chen Mo is seriously injured now, there is still no crisis of death. In this situation, it is even more unlikely that those Sendai powerhouses in the Dao men sect will take action against Chen Mo. Compared to the ancient tribes, the human race, which was originally protected by the Battle Saint Ape tribe, also lacks the resources they possess. Any precious resources must be used on the cutting edge. In this way, how could the strong members of the human race use Chen Mo? Various reasons combine to make the traveler Chen Mo understand that the possibility of seeking help from the Dao men Sendai powerhouse is really too small. If the door doesn't work, what about the outside world? Chen Mo shook his head. Originally, the human race was not favored by the ancient tribes in this region of the Big Dipper. Not to mention Chen Mo, who was seriously injured and couldn't exert much strength. If he stepped out of the divine ceiling mountain, he would really be looking for death, unable to stop him. Perhaps only by becoming a dragon slayer can one have a certain foothold in the Baidu. In this way, it's really an unsolvable situation, Chen Mo sighed. Although Chen Mo is a traveler, he also has a certain understanding of this world. But facing his current injury, Chen Mo really doesn't have many methods. After all, he is just a traveler, not a strong person in the past and then reborn. Previously, as a traveler, Chen Mo also anticipated whether he would have any golden fingers. Before his travels, many of the protagonists in the novels he saw were like this. Unfortunately, Chen Mo, who had been in this world for some time, did not receive any golden fingers at all. This disappointed Chen Mo, saying that novels are ultimately only novels. Now, the world he is in is reality. It's normal to have no golden fingers or systems. Forget it, I can only slowly recover from my injury now, Chen Mo said softly. Complete recovery is impossible, but a slight recovery can still be achieved. Thinking of this, Chen Mo turned around and jumped off the rock, gently landing on the ground, ready to head towards the cultivation mansion where he was located. As a powerful Taoist and a genius in the eyes of many, Chen Mo also has his own specialized place for cultivation. Ding, successful enlightenment stimulation at full level, countdown 10.98. A mechanical sound slowly echoed in Chen Mo's ear. This caused Chen Mo, who was originally preparing to take steps, to stop because of the mechanical voice and the words being spoken. It represents something. His golden finger appeared. Full-level perception system. It's not an illusion, is it? Chen Mo murmured to himself as he listened to the countdown in his mind. As a traveler, Chen Mo was somewhat worried about whether he had hallucinations due to overthinking in the face of this situation. 3, 2, 1 successfully loaded the full-level perception system. In the end, the sound about this system gradually faded away. Chapter 3. Inferring the Daoist Scriptures. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. It's true. Standing in this mountain, Chen Mo's eyes sparkled with light. After the successful activation of the full-level perception system, Chen Mo found that his soul seemed to undergo a drastic transformation at this moment. That transformation is earth-shattering. That seems to be a fundamental transformation. In Chen Mo's eyes, there were many parts of the world that he couldn't understand. But at this moment, Chen Mo realized that the world had become different and more clearly visible. Various energies and laws intertwine and converge like a thread, forming this vast world. Is this full-level comprehension? Chen Mo took a deep breath, appearing somewhat puzzled. For Chen Mo, the stimulation of the full-level comprehension system not only made him realize that the world in this area had become different in his eyes, but also made him more aware of the problems in his cultivation techniques. For Chen Mo in the past, the profound and unfathomable techniques. For Chen Mo now, it is simply full of loopholes. He can freely rotate his mind and modify various techniques he has previously practiced. Full-level comprehension is simply unbelievable. At this moment, Chen Mo didn't think much and his mind moved to explore the specific situation of the full-level comprehension system. After a moment, Chen Mo has almost fully understood his level of comprehension. The full-level understanding one possesses is not complicated at all, and even simple. As the name suggests, Chen Mo's current intelligence is full-level intelligence. Just one thing, the so-called full-level comprehension is not Chen Mo's ultimate limit. As Chen Mo's strength continues to break through, his own intelligence can continue to improve, rather than saying that the intelligence Chen Mo currently possesses is the ultimate limit. With every breakthrough in strength, Chen Mo's understanding can undergo a revolutionary change. Under Chen Mo's own perception, his current intelligence may not be comparable to that of the ancient emperor in the current Big Dipper realm. You should know. Now Chen Mo is just a quadrupole powerhouse, and there is still a long way to go before reaching the level of an ancient emperor. And with each breakthrough, Chen Mo's understanding can be improved on the basis of the original. A more important point. It is not that those who are strong at the level of the ancient emperor possess the intelligence of the ancient emperor. If a living creature possesses the level of ancient emperor's intelligence, it is equivalent to the other being having the qualification to become a powerful ancient emperor. This is the difference in qualifications, similar to the innate holy body Tao fetus possessed by Emperor Wuxia, which is a powerful qualification. And at the soul level, that kind of aptitude is even more unimaginable. After all, physical qualifications can be inherited to some extent, but soul-level qualifications are completely mysterious. So, the ancient emperor may not necessarily possess the level of understanding of the ancient emperor. This is enough to demonstrate how terrifying Chen Mo's current intelligence is. At the same time, Chen Mo estimates that his current level of understanding is still beyond the level that those ancient emperors and creatures can possess. In this way, it becomes much easier to recover from his injuries. Chen Mo's mind was filled with various thoughts. The injury that could only be recovered with the help of a strong player from Sendai has given Chen Mo many direct methods. Thinking of this, Chen Mo no longer hesitated, his figure flashed, and he headed towards his own place of cultivation. At the top of an empty small mountain stands a stone house covered in grey light. You can see some spiritual grass growing around, and there are no other human races around. This is the place where Chen Mo cultivates. As a quadrupole powerhouse, coupled with Chen Mo being seen by outsiders, he is also a genius in the Taoist school. So Chen Mo also has his own independent mountain as his training ground. Quickly, Chen Mo's figure appeared here. Without hesitation, he pushed the door in and sat cross-legged on the ground with a cattail. The acquisition of full-level intelligence has made Chen Mo eager to cultivate. Restoring injuries and changing the foundation and potential that have been lost in the past are all of utmost importance. For Chen Mo, it would be best for both to recover naturally. In this way, even in the eyes of strong Taoist masters, Chen Mo is still a true genius. Ha! Chen Mo let out a breath with a hint of light in his eyes. First, stabilize your emotions, and then use your full-level intelligence to think about what methods can be used. Just achieved full-level understanding, and to Chen Mo, his mood is still a bit excited. 1 hour later. After Chen Mo stabilized his mood, he began to use his transformed full-level understanding to sort out his cultivation techniques and injuries. If you want to recover from the injury and its foundation, you still need some resources to assist. A tall building cannot be built out of thin air. You have explored your injuries and found that your internal organs have been severely damaged by your own strength. More importantly, you have found that your internal organs have weakened to the extreme. If you want to recover your injuries, it is impossible to rely on your original cultivation techniques. Only with the help of some genius treasures can you recover your current injuries. However, it is obvious that you do not have such precious genius treasures. You start to change your direction, organize your cultivation techniques, and see if you can obtain methods from them. You have discovered that what you are practicing in the realm of Luanhai is actually the famous Daoist scripture. It is said that it was created by the Daoist master in the mythological era, but soon you realize that even if it is only the Daoist scripture in the Luanhai chapter, it is still incomplete. You have made changes to this. You have improved the We'll See chapter of the Daoist scriptures, and you deduce that in addition to the Daoist palace, the 4 poles, and the transformation of dragons, you have learned about the Nirvana magic skill you have practiced and found that it is not a complete magic skill. It should be considered a top-level skill, but it is too incomplete to become a magic skill. You have begun to gain a deeper understanding of the Nirvana magic technique, relying solely on a small portion of its true mysteries. You have performed a top-notch technique and named it the Divine Phoenix Treasure Technique. That's right. Chen Mo, relying on his extremely incomplete Nirvana demon technique, surprisingly deduced and created a new technique, which bears some resemblance to the perfect Divine Phoenix Treasure Technique in the world that Chen Mo is aware of. This is also because Chen Mo already has this kind of memory, which is why he deduced and created such a technique. Moreover, under Chen Mo's deduction, there are indeed similarities between such Nirvana magic and Phoenix. This is also the reason why Chen Mo named this martial art as the Divine Phoenix Treasure Technique. Perhaps this Nirvana magic skill in the world of covering the heavens is derived from the Divine Phoenix Treasure Technique, but it should only have a very small portion of its mysteries. However, Chen Mo only realized from such a part of the mystery that creating is not just about the Divine Phoenix Treasure Technique. This illustrates from another perspective how terrifying Chen Mo's full-level intelligence is today. Chapter 4. The Perfect Art of Nirvana. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After creating the Divine Phoenix Treasure Technique, you began to sort out your own injuries and the foundation of the damage, to see if you could achieve more in one fell swoop and restore yourself. You created your own Nirvana technique based on the Divine Phoenix Treasure Technique, utilizing the rules of fire from the void to form the Nirvana fire, allowing yourself to perform Nirvana like a phoenix. By then, not only can you recover from the injury, but even the foundation of the past damage can be restored, and even take it to the next level. Generally speaking, the art of Nirvana is too dangerous. Even in the past, Phoenix Nirvana was not 100% able to survive, which also has a certain mortality rate. You combine the Taoist scriptures and continuously improve the art of Nirvana, creating a perfect art of Nirvana according to your calculations. The perfect technique of Nirvana can not only restore the backlash you previously received, but also restore your damaged foundation and potential in the past. You begin to operate the art of Nirvana, inside the stone house. When Chen Mo began to operate the Nirvana technique he had deduced and created, he began to see divine patterns on his body, which carried a brilliant light. Slowly, these divine patterns formed a special pattern on Chen Mo's body. This pattern has similarities with the phoenix. In the world of covering the sky, divine beasts and the like are extremely rare, even difficult to see. After all, those were creatures that only existed in the immortal realm in the past. Like the undead emperor who opened up the ancient era, he is a phoenix that fell from the immortal realm. When those divine patterns continue to interweave, making this pattern complete. Suddenly, roaming. An astonishing flame suddenly rose up on Chen Mo. These flames look golden and full of a noble and holy aura. Speaking of anything else, even if you just stand from a distance and watch, you can intuitively feel the terrifying aspects of these flames. That's not an ordinary flame. This is the fire of Nirvana created by Chen Mo in a special way. The key to the art of Nirvana is the fire of Nirvana. After the flames of Nirvana appeared, Chen Mo could feel the power of these flames slowly seeping into his body and soul. The fire of Nirvana belonging to the phoenix. There is both creation and destruction. Against the enemy, the fire of Nirvana is the power of destruction. For oneself, after Nirvana, that is the power of rebirth. For ordinary beings, the fire of Nirvana has astonishing destructive power, and it is impossible to control such a flame power. But with the blessing of Chen Mo's full-level understanding, these Nirvana-tamed creatures did not exhibit any fiery frenzy, but rather resembled a gentle little animal. Can achieve this. On the one hand, the fire of Nirvana was the reason for Chen Mo's creation, and on the other hand, it was also because Chen Mo had a full level of understanding, which allowed him to master the fire of Nirvana without any problem. So, integrating these flames of Nirvana into Chen Mo's physical body is completely beneficial and has no harm. That's it. Chen Mo's body was shrouded in the radiance of the flames of Nirvana. At every moment, Chen Mo could feel his injuries and the foundation gradually recovering, which was still visible to the naked eye. At the same time, when Chen Mo erupted into the flames of Nirvana and allowed himself to undergo it. Amidst a towering mountain peak, palaces stand one after another, exuding a hint of grandeur amidst their ancient simplicity. But that kind of grandeur doesn't look too secular, but rather gives ordinary people a feeling of a heavenly palace. This is the stronghold of the Taoist sect, and the sect leader Ji Long usually cultivates here. As the leader of the sect, Ji Long possesses the strength of a Sendai level, and is not just an ordinary Sendai. However, even so, even if Ji Long, who possesses the power of Sendai, is placed in the Beidou star domain, he is already considered a strong one. But changing the current situation of the human race would be of no use at all. Not to mention those ancient emperor-level powerhouses, even those Taiku 1 clans who do not have ancient emperor-level powerhouses are still very numerous among them. Perhaps the birth of ancient emperors among the human race is necessary to change the current situation of the human race in the Beidou star domain. But how difficult it is to become a strong warrior at the level of an ancient emperor. So, Ji Long understood that even many high-level members of the sect were unlikely to break through and reach the level of the ancient emperor, a genius among the human race, which was what he expected. Don't say it. Over the long years, there have also been some astonishing constitutions among the human race. Unfortunately, until now, the human race has not given birth to ancient emperor-level powerhouses. After all, a special physique cannot guarantee that the human race will definitely become a strong ancient emperor, let alone encounter various crises during the growth process. Not to mention anything else, the ancient tribes probably do not want a powerful ancient emperor to be born among the human race. And to become a powerful ancient emperor, it is not something that can be achieved through closed cultivation. In future generations, whether it is the Wuxia Emperor, the Ruthless Emperor, or the Yi Tian Emperor, they can all be considered to have grown up through battles and eventually become the Great Emperor, surpassing the Great Emperor as strong individuals. This also represents that it is impossible for human geniuses to constantly cultivate in the divine sealed mountains and be protected by the holy ape clan of fighting. Ji Long sighed, feeling unwilling to accept the current situation of the human race, but he had no choice. However, Ji Long's eyes lit up with a hint of light. The little girl I recently accepted actually had the legendary constitution of a congenital Dao fetus, which is the legendary constitution. Congenital Dao fetus. Legend has it that creatures with this constitution can establish a connection with the laws of the world from birth. Whether it is cultivation or breakthrough, it will be much simpler than ordinary people. Perhaps that little girl has hope of breaking through the power of the ancient emperor, Ji Long murmured to herself. Although the human race had many legendary constitutions in the past, in terms of their unique constitutions, it seems that they cannot be compared to the innate Dao fetus. However, the fact that the little girl has a congenital Dao fetus cannot be spread, and the ancient people cannot be aware of it. Ji Long's eyes were cold. Taiku Wanzhu doesn't want the human race to rise, and even targets human geniuses, as Ji Long knows. Not letting the little girl be known about her special physique. It can also be considered as a comfort to protect the little girl. Suddenly, Ji Long's face slightly changed, and he felt an incredibly terrifying force. That's Chapter 5. The Supreme Being. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It contains the power of destruction and creation. Ji Long's eyes shone with a hint of light as she looked towards the small mountain where Chen Mo was located. As a Sendai powerhouse, and not an ordinary Sendai powerhouse. He felt the power of Chen Mo igniting the flames of Nirvana and carrying out Nirvana. The fire of Nirvana may not be as powerful as those at the level of dragons or Sendai in terms of quantity. But its essence, to some extent, has surpassed that of Hualong and even Sendai. Because even if they are strong in Sendai, they may not necessarily be able to control the fire of Nirvana, let alone create the fire of Nirvana. After all, to some extent, that is the primordial fire that can only be released by the phoenix. In today's world of obscuration, the true phoenix may only be the immortal emperor. That was the ancient era of the emperors of all races, who opened up the Beidou star domain and covered the sky world. It also made the ancient people of all ages shine brightly in this world, which is completely suppressed compared to the brilliance of the human race today. This undead emperor is almost invincible among the powerful ancient emperors. Otherwise, how could the ancient tribes submit to the undead emperor? Undead emperor, that is the belief of countless ancient tribes. Even those powerful ancient emperors may have to lower their proud heads in the face of the undead emperor. So, compared to ordinary Taiku people, those powerful individuals at the level of ancient emperors may face immense psychological pressure when facing the undead emperor. No one wants a supreme existence above them. Under one person, it is never as good as above 10,000 people. However, even as powerful individuals at the level of ancient emperors, there is a limit to their lifespan, and their lifespan is not endless. For tens of thousands of years, it is generally the limit of a strong ancient emperor. There are some differences from what Chen Mo originally knew about the world of covering the sky. Of course, this kind of discrepancy is just a very subtle aspect. But no matter what, it is almost impossible to have a long life in this world without eternal material possessions. However, extending their lives is not without a solution for these ancient emperor-level powerhouses. Just like some special techniques can slightly prolong one's life, the best one is to use the immortal elixir, which can extend the lifespan of these ancient emperors. But when those lifespans really reach a certain level and there is no other way, Those ancient emperors ultimately had only one solution. That is self-destruction, sealing oneself up, and then they need to discover their own opportunities in the future, opportunities to change their destiny. Becoming immortal is the wish in the hearts of many ancient emperors and powerful people in this world today. As long as they become legendary immortals, they can have a long life without worrying about their remaining life. But becoming an immortal is not an easy task. The strength of living beings not only needs to reach the level of ancient emperors, but also requires another key, which is the opening of the path to immortality. Qingxian Road is said to be a passage connecting their world and immortal realm. Only by breaking through the channel can one have the opportunity to enter the immortal realm and obtain the opportunity to become an immortal. Of course, some ancient emperors engage in self-immolation, hoping to wait for the opportunity to become immortals. There are also some ancient emperors who do not have such thoughts and will directly wait for the end of their lives. Let's not talk about these for now. As one of the strongest beings in the human race, Ji Long discovered the terrifying nature of this fire of Nirvana. That is a fundamental difference. This is similar to some human geniuses who possess a special physique, and that essence is impossible to create. Who the hell is it? Ji Long's eyes gleamed with a hint of brilliance. This terrifying flame fluctuation, which he had never noticed in the past, is it a new genius in the human race? But being in the gate, will genius only be exposed at this time? This also seems unlikely. Subsequently, Ji Long stopped thinking too much and wanted to determine who it was, as he had already seen it before. As for whether it will be the enemy coming here, Ji Long also thinks it's unlikely. This is a human sect, and even the strong members of other ancient tribes cannot enter the sect headquarters without restraint. On the small mountain peak that belongs to Chen Mo's cultivation, Ji Long, dressed in a gorgeous Taoist robe, appeared in front of Chen Mo's stone house. Looking at the stone house in front of her, Ji Long's eyes were shining with light. With a gentle wave of his palm, the stone door in front of her was silently opened. This stone house was not big, and Ji Long could see Chen Mo cross-legged inside at a glance. At this moment, Chen Mo's whole body was shrouded in golden flames. The flames were filled with a holy radiance, and a phoenix faintly spread its wings, containing the breath of life and creation that kept flowing. Such a flame! Upon closer observation, Ji Long could feel even more the terrifying flames in front of her. The two forces of destruction and vitality are contained within it. If one is not careful, they may die under this flame, not to mention that Ji Long can detect the young man in his eyes, and his strength should only reach the level of quadrupole. It can be said that even if the other party is just a strong quadrupole, even if he is a strong Sendai, it is difficult to absorb this strange flame with his body. Is it because of her special physique? Ji Long murmured to herself. Some special constitutions can indeed achieve things that ordinary people find difficult to do. Those special constitutions can even form various terrifying celestial anomalies. This person seems to be reborn in Nirvana under this flame, Ji Long said slowly, and a creature, the legendary Phoenix, came to mind. Phoenix, most famous for its ability to constantly engage in Nirvana resurrection. But that is a creature that only exists in the immortal realm, and there is no trace of a phoenix in this world. It is impossible for Ji Long to know that the undead emperor is a phoenix from the immortal realm. So when Ji Long guessed that Chen Mo had this special physique, she was somewhat shocked. As for Chen Mo, he is a power he has cultivated himself. Ji Long never even thought about it. This person is. Ji Long carefully stared at Chen Mo, and various images came to mind. The final image slowly froze down. Chen Mo, the first genius of the inner gate. Chapter 6. Creating the Body of the Divine Phoenix. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The first day at the inner gate. Regarding Chen Mo's figure, it was ultimately remembered by Ji Long. It can only be said that Chen Mo is not truly an unknown person in the sect. On the contrary, among the younger generation of Dao men, Chen Mo's popularity is still very high. Some older generation Taoist experts also know about Chen Mo, but of course, some have not seen him before, which is also possible. But as the first genius of the inner sect, even Ji Long, the sect leader, had met Chen Mo. Because Chen Mo is really too special. This is because during the same period in the past, young people like Chen Mo were geniuses in the inner sect, and many of them have become their own disciples. But Chen Mo, who had initially suppressed those geniuses and was the first genius in the inner sect, did not become a personal disciple, but continued to stay in the inner sect. Although the reputation of being the first genius in the inner door is very high. But within the entire gate, the inner door is nothing. It can be said that generally speaking, the inner sect selects its own disciples, and even the level of the backbone of the Taoist sect. After all, to become an inner disciple, there are certain requirements for strength and age. But there is still a gap compared to the truly top talents. The entire sect is divided into outer and inner gates among the younger generation. External disciples are the places where the human race who apprentice to the Taoist sect cultivate. As long as those disciples perform well, they can be promoted to internal disciples. Inner disciples can obtain better resources. This is how the human race provides the younger generation with better opportunities and choices. Compared to later generations, the human race today is naturally more united. In the eyes of the ancient people, if the human race were fighting against each other, it would be a joke to rule over this Beidou star domain. If possible, the senior management of the human race also wants to give all resources to the younger generation of humanity, who are opportunities for the human race. Unfortunately, the human race suppressed by the ancient tribes has no inexhaustible resources. So we can only tilt resources towards people with excellent qualifications. To some extent, it can also be considered as giving the younger generation competitive ideas and actions, which can accelerate the improvement of their strength. But in the entire sect, the inner gate is not the end point, and there are also disciples passed down above the inner gate. Generally speaking, those are disciples accepted by the powerful members of the Sendai sect, and their status is still higher than that of inner sect geniuses. For those Sendai powerhouses, they accept their own personal transmission, some of which are taken when some younger generations join the sect. Most of those young people have special qualifications at the beginning. Or in terms of qualifications, or in terms of spiritual understanding, and so on. Another channel is naturally the talented disciples of the inner sect. After all, for those Sendai powerhouses, young geniuses may occasionally have missed the net. Even some geniuses are late bloomers, accumulating knowledge and making progress. Not to mention anything else, let's talk about the Sendai powerhouses within the door, who also have this type. It is precisely because of this that talented individuals who occasionally appear in the inner gate are taken as their own disciples by the powerful Taoist Immortal. As the first genius in the inner gate of the Taoist sect, Chen Mo has never been a disciple of the powerful Immortal and has become a personal disciple. As for whether the younger generation of the Daoist sect will have someone gossip about Chen Mo, that's just not there. Among his peers, Chen Mo's strength is really overwhelming the entire inner door. It is precisely because of this that Chen Mo became an extremely special figure in the Taoist sect. Even the sect leader Ji Long had seen Chen Mo with his own eyes. Some Sendai powerhouses cannot see how Chen Mo's situation is. As a top Sendai powerhouse, Ji Long can still see that Chen Mo's own situation is not good. However, even if discovered, Ji Long didn't say anything because it was Chen Mo's own choice. But now, Ji Long realized that he had misread. Perhaps this first prodigy in the inner team has such a special ability to achieve Nirvana, which is why he has made behaviors that consume his potential like before. Chen Mo, Chen Mo. Ji Long whispered a few words before revealing a smile. This first genius in the inner door has almost concealed everything from everyone. Even this Sendai powerhouse is like this. It is obvious that after this Nirvana, Chen Mo's self can not only fully recover, but even go further. Let me see, Chen Mo, to what extent can you achieve it? Ji Long's eyes flickered, being covered by the flame of Nirvana. Even Ji Long cannot estimate to what extent Chen Mo will achieve. Not to mention Chen Mo, the viewer of Ji Long, Chen Mo fell into an important cultivation after absorbing the fire of Nirvana. Due to previous injuries and foundation damage, Chen Mo understands how important this foundation building is. Being able to create the fire of Nirvana does not necessarily mean that Chen Mo has been constantly engaged in Nirvana, and sometimes Nirvana cannot be said to be an absolute good thing. You absorb the fire of Nirvana and start your own cultivation. You find that although ordinary Nirvana has an effect, it will not have a significant change in your own qualifications. You continue to deduce the fire of Nirvana, using your terrifying insight to elevate the art of Nirvana to the art of great Nirvana. The art of great Nirvana, combined with the mysteries of various Nirvana fires, creates powerful physical abilities from scratch, and the day after tomorrow, you begin to operate the art of great Nirvana, where the fire of Nirvana burns the flesh, organs, bones, and soul. After being heavily tempered by the fire of Nirvana, you begin an incredible transformation. Your cultivation began to decline, and soon after, your strength declined to the realm of the wheel sea. This is the re-cultivation brought about by the Great Nirvana technique. By combining the Daoist scriptures and the technique of Great Nirvana, you have successfully created a brand new powerful body, the divine phoenix body outside the stone house. As Chen Mo's strength continued to decline and eventually only reached the realm of Luanhai, Ji Long's gaze only flickered slightly, and there was no significant change in his expression. Perhaps this is just a change brought about by Chen Mo's Nirvana technique. But when Ji Long saw Chen Mo's body showing divine patterns, his gaze changed. That kind of divine pattern contains the most basic rules of heaven and earth. Indeed, she has special qualifications. Ji Long took a deep breath. Undoubtedly, this kind of divine pattern transformation is like a special qualification possessed by those genius human races. What chaotic body, what domineering body, and even the innate Tao fetus he took in not long ago. Is it the body of a phoenix? Ji Long murmured to herself. Because there has never been such a special constitution in this world, Ji Long can only simply name this constitution. After all, in this world that covers the sky, there has never been a divine beast like a phoenix. Chapter 7. Amazing Fantasy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shu. After the body of the divine phoenix was created by Chen Mo, a special cry echoed through the sky and earth. A faint golden phantom appeared between heaven and earth. The entire phantom looks like a phoenix blocking the sky and sun. Ji Long naturally saw this too. Seeing this phantom that covered the sky and sun, Ji Long's face changed slightly. This kind of scene, not to mention the people in the sect, just the fighting Saint Ape tribe, may also be noticed by some people. After all, the aura emitted by the phantom is incredibly powerful. Even as a powerful Sendai warrior, Ji Long vaguely felt a suffocating sensation. This is not to say that the power of the phantom is powerful, but rather the essence of one of its powers. Faced with this situation, Ji Long is ready to take action and use her own strength to cover up this divine phoenix body. After all, the longer the appearance of the divine phoenix body, the worse for Chen Mo and the human race. The ancient people do not want any strong people to appear in the human race. Of course, to some extent, the human race is not a big deal in the eyes of the ancient people. Not to mention the ancient emperor-level powerhouses, but to mention the Sendai-level powerhouses, the human race cannot be compared to the ancient 10,000 races. In fact, to a certain extent, the human race should also be considered one of the ancient 10,000 tribes in the Beidou star domain, but the human race is different from the ancient 10,000 tribes. That is an essential difference. For example, the immortal emperor is not considered a belief of the human race. And all ancient and ethnic groups believe in the immortal emperor, which makes the Taiku people seem like a whole. Therefore, it is only natural that the human race cannot be compared to the ancient tribes. But regardless of the reason, the strength of the human race is the key to better standing in the Beidou. So, like the little girl I met before with a congenital Tao fetus, or the one I see now, Chen Mo can hide for as long as possible. This can allow human geniuses to have more time to grow. Just as Ji Long was emitting divine lights, the shadow that blocked the sky and sun transformed into a golden light that quickly shrank and disappeared. Ji Long could see the phantom transform into golden light and merge into Chen Mo's body. In this way, Ji Long also stopped his movements, contracting his virtual shadow. It was not easy to find Chen Mo. After achieving the body of the divine phoenix, you practiced in the realm of the wheel sea and opened up your own sea of suffering. Combining the Taoist scriptures and the body of the divine phoenix, your sea of suffering becomes stronger than before. Let's talk about this for Chen Mo. That's also a normal thing. The original Chen Mo, although also practicing Taoist scriptures, how could his understanding of Taoist scriptures be compared to the current Chen Mo? Chen Mo, who has traveled through this world, possesses a full level of intelligence. That is completely beyond the level of ancient emperors. Because there was no reference, Chen Mo did not know the terrifying level of his intelligence. But being able to create the following realms of the Daoist scriptures with his intelligence, and even creating the divine phoenix treasure technique with incomplete treasure techniques, is enough to demonstrate how amazing Chen Mo's intelligence is. Your ocean of suffering is boundless, giving birth to a flame full of vitality, which is a vision belonging to the divine phoenix body. Some powerful bodies may generate more or less illusions during their cultivation, which represent the strength of the opponent's physical abilities. In ancient times, or in today's ancient times, this physique was called a divine body. Chaotic body, dominant body, innate Tao body, ancient holy body, and so on are all special constitutions. The anomalies derived from these constitutions are also diverse. The bitter sea grows golden lotus, the sea grows bright moon, and the immortal king faces the 9 heavens, and so on. Now, Chen Mo has created and forged his own divine phoenix body, which has also brought about this kind of physical change. Of course, no matter what era it is, physical fitness is not everything, just like the future ruthless emperor who, with his mortal body, competes with those true geniuses and ultimately succeeds to the end, becoming the pinnacle of the world of obscuration. For Chen Mo, the key to his growth lies in his own full-level system. After successfully opening up the bitter sea, you quickly start to break through again, cultivate a life spring, build a divine bridge, and reach the other shore. At this moment, you understand that you need to start refining your own tool of enlightenment again. In the world of covering the sky, it is generally necessary to refine one's own tool for preaching in the realm of the wheel sea. In this way, the tool of preaching can continuously improve with the improvement of strength, and this tool of preaching can be completely connected with one's own mind. In the past, Chen Mo in this world refined a long sword, which belonged to him as a tool for preaching. After thinking about it, you finally decided to give up using the long sword as your tool for preaching and start refining again. Because there are no relevant materials, you first used divine patterns to refine and combine them, and then integrate many divine patterns into the materials afterwards. As the divine patterns continued to condense, a bell-shaped object slowly appeared in the sea of suffering. This ancient clock was engraved with countless runes, like many creatures hidden in the world of obscuration. You named it the Chaos Clock, which is your wild hope in your heart. After the success of the divine pattern refining tool, you no longer suppress yourself and begin to quickly breaking through from the other side, entering the realm of the Tao Palace, and practicing the 5 realms of the Tao Palace. Because you have already experienced the cultivation of the Tao Palace, you have not encountered any problems in a short period of time. You have broken through the Tao Palace and stepped into the 4 Extremes realm, which is where you were before. You have stepped into the 4 Extremes realm, which exercises your limb strength and allows you to possess the power of the heavenly mysterious technique by making every move and gesture. In the past, you reached the 2nd small realm of the quadrupole realm that you had. You quickly cultivated to the point where you had entered your original realm, and with the burning of the divine phoenix fire, you began to break through the 2 realms after the quadrupole. You have successfully cultivated your left and right legs, and the 4 realms where the 4 extremes are located have been successfully cultivated since then. You have stepped onto the peak of the four extremes on the other side. Under Ji Long's gaze, he saw the flames rolling and the breath expanding on Chen Mo's body, with many divine patterns intertwined among them. That mysterious rune also slightly surprised Ji Long. It is completely unbelievable that Chen Mo was able to reach the pinnacle of the four poles in just over 10 years. And look at the momentum. Can the other party cross from the quadrupole to become a dragon? Chapter 8. Strongest beyond the level of ancient emperors. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. If we talk about quadrupole, it's just starting out. I have barely gained a foothold in this Beidou star field. So when the strength breakthrough reaches the level of transforming into a dragon, even if placed among the ancient tribes, it can still be considered a backbone force. For the ancient people of all races, those who transform into dragons are also strong individuals that need to be cherished, rather than being like strong individuals with four-pole cultivation. Even if it's destroyed as cannon fodder, it's nothing. The death of the dragon slayer will cause some physical pain for those ancient tribes. After all, to become a dragon transforming powerhouse, that is not the cultivation level that any living creature can achieve. As for the Sendai powerhouse, that's exactly the group of people at the top of the pyramid in the Big Dipper universe. Among many forces, they are also the strongest. Just like in Taoism, there are not many Sendai powerhouses like the sect leader Ji Long. So, when Ji Long saw that Chen Mo was about to break through the quadrupole and become a dragon, he was shocked. If it's those human beings who have practiced for a long time, then it's nothing, and most importantly, Chen Mo hasn't practiced for too long either. At this point, the sect leader Ji Long still knows the general situation of Chen Mo. The first day at the inner gate in the past was not just a waste of time. Chen Mo's popularity in the Daoist sect is to some extent greater than that of his personally transmitted disciples. Didn't there be a breakthrough? Ji Long watched as Chen Mo slowly restrained his flames, with a hint of light in his eyes. Even if Chen Mo didn't break through, Ji Long wouldn't have any disappointment. On the contrary, Ji Long admired Chen Mo even more for being able to resist her desire to break through and build a stronger foundation. After all, in Ji Long's view, the divine light that Chen Mogang had just emitted was enough to make a breakthrough. Inside the house, Chen Mo, who was practicing, slowly opened his eyes. This time of cultivation, with the help of the power of full-level comprehension, its strength has been greatly improved. This has given Chen Mo a clearer understanding of the full level of self-awareness he possesses. Chen Mo, who possesses golden fingers, is confident in becoming a powerhouse beyond the level of the ancient emperor. As a traveler, Chen Mo understands that the power of the ancient emperor is not the limit in this sky-covered world. Red Dust Immortal, Immortal King, Quasi-Immortal Emperor, Immortal Emperor, and even more powerful realms exist in this vast world. For most creatures in the world of obscurity, they are just frogs at the bottom of the well. And Chen Mo did not break through the transformation into a dragon. That's because he had previously rebuilt a tool of enlightenment in the realm of Luanhai. Although the divine pattern refining tool is also good, it is best to have some precious materials to integrate into it. If we break through from the four poles to become dragons, it will be a bit more difficult to integrate the tools of enlightenment. So Chen Mo did not break through to the realm of dragon transformation. Or for other ordinary cultivators, breaking through to the world of dragon transformation requires favorable timing, location, and people. However, for Chen Mo, who has a full level of understanding, if he really wants to break through, he can. So, why should he be in a hurry? It can be said that Chen Mo's original goal has been achieved in this cultivation. Restore the injuries suffered before, and even restore the potential and foundation of one's own loss. Not to mention, Chen Mo is now much stronger than before. Taking a deep breath, Chen Mo walked towards the door. Regarding Ji Long's arrival here, Chen Mo also had some perception while practicing. Chen Mo was not too surprised by this. It is normal for someone who cultivates in a Taoist sect to be discovered by a powerful immortal. Fortunately, it was in the Daoist sect. If it were outside, it would be much more difficult for Chen Mo to cultivate alone. Accidentally encountering a member of a certain ancient tribe and effortlessly wiping out Chen Mo is normal, but that's just the right thing. And in the gates where the human race gathers, such things would not happen. Compared to the future, for the current human race, the more geniuses and strengths there are, the better it will be for the human race. Many human races, especially those powerful ones, have experienced the time of being bullied by countless ancient tribes. So the strength of the human race is the expectation in the hearts of the strong human race. It is precisely because of this that today's geniuses among the human race receive attention and resources that cannot be compared to those of future human geniuses. Stepping out of the room, Chen Mo's gaze caught sight of Ji Long. Seeing this person, Chen Mo was also slightly surprised in his heart. Ji Long naturally knew him, and that was the head of the sect. It is also considered the strongest existence in the realm of Taoism. Disciple Chen Mo, pay respects to the sect leader. Chen Mo respectfully saluted Ji Long. Although Chen Mo has a full level of intelligence, he still holds a certain level of respect for this Taoist immortal powerhouse. It can be said that this sect leader has put in a lot of effort for the human race. If there were no Ji Long, there would be almost no human race now protected by the Fighting Ape clan. The first genius of the inner gate, Chen Mo. Ji Long looked at Chen Mo with a smile. I didn't expect you to hide so deeply that you even deceived me. Ji Long was extremely happy to see an additional genius in the human race. The sect leader praised me too much, and Chen Mo didn't hide anything. Chen Mo said humbly. Chen Mo will not openly speak about his full-level understanding and even the various techniques he has created. Because this is indeed an incredible thing. This situation is probably more terrifying than any congenital fetus. Haha. Ji Long laughed heartily. This sect leader has hidden his strength from Chen Mo and has not said much. After all, Chen Mo didn't do anything, he just stayed at the inner door all the time. So Chen Mo, are you ready now? Ji Long asked. Yes, sect leader, Chen Mo replied. Okay. Ji Long took a deep look at Chen Mo, waved his right hand, and a beam of light shot towards him. Bang! Chen Mo extended his right hand and a token-like object appeared in his hand, engraved with the words, Dao. Upon closer inspection, it seemed as if there were many divine patterns interwoven on it. Chen Mo, with this token, you can come to me anytime, Ji Long said in a deep voice. Immediately after, under Chen Mo's gaze, Ji Long transformed into a beam of light and disappeared. Dao character token. Chen Mo looked at the token in his hand. Legend has it that possessing this token is equivalent to the authority of a sect elder, and this is only a partial function. There are not many people in the entire sect who possess this type of token. Ding! Just as Chen Mo was retrieving the token, a mechanical sound rang in his ear. Zhu Tian chat group is starting, countdown. Chapter 9. Fishing for the Heavens. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In Chen Mo's ear, another mechanical sound rang out. And the sound of this machine is different from the sound of the previous full-level perception system activation. This made Chen Mo's face flash with surprise. If Chen Mo had not obtained a full-level system, he would naturally be pleasantly surprised when the system was launched. After all, that was the golden finger he had always wanted. But before that, he had already obtained a full-level understanding system. Not to mention that later on, by utilizing the full level of comprehension ability, he directly recovered his injuries and improved his strength to the next level. But now there is actually a new system emerging. This was completely beyond Chen Mo's expectations. Zhu Tian chat group. Chen Mo hesitated for a moment. At the same time, the countdown to the Zhu Tian chat group has ended and it has truly started. The general situation of the Zhu Tian chat group has also emerged in Chen Mo's mind. That's right, just like Chen Mogong's perception. The Zhutian chat group that has been launched so far also belongs to Chen Mo's golden finger. That's his second system, his second golden finger. Traveling to the world of obscurity, it's okay if it doesn't start. Once it starts, it's just 2 golden fingers. This surprised Chen Mo a bit. However, since the Zhutian chat group has been launched, Chen Mo also needs to see what the purpose of this Zhutian chat group is. It can be said that compared to the previous full-level perception system, the situation of the Zhutian chat group is still more complex than that of the Wuxing system. After a moment, Chen Mo has also gained a clear understanding of the current situation of Zhutian chat groups. This Zhutian chat group is similar to the chat group I previously guessed. The chat group can connect to the Zhutian Wanjia and allow members of the Zhutian Wanjia to join the chat group. Give the members of the world the opportunity to change their destiny. But this kind of change, as the owner of the Zhutian chat group, Chen Mo can gain a certain amount of the power of the world's origin. Because the members who change their destiny can also be considered as indirectly changing the original trajectory of their own world. In this way, chat groups can incorporate those heavens into their own system. And Chen Mo can also gain certain benefits. This is like fishing for the heavens, silently allowing one's own strength to influence those worlds. Even if the members of the group know the truth, they may have to change their fate. No one wants to face their own death or even tragic fate. Not to mention, regarding these aspects, the Zhutian chat group only explains to Chen Mo, who is the owner. Even if members of the Zhutian Wanjia join the group, they can only learn about the basic chat group information. At the same time, there are some other functions similar to the chat groups that Chen Mo is familiar with regarding the various heavens and worlds. Different functions such as red envelopes, live streaming, and shopping malls. Zhutian chat group. Chen Mo's eyes lit up with light. If reaching the full level of intelligence eliminates the constraints and related constraints on Chen Mo's strength, then the existence of the Zhutian chat group may allow Chen Mo's strength to improve faster and have a broader future. In Chen Mo's relevant understanding, although the world he is in is extraordinary, when it comes to the entire universe, it is not considered a truly top-level world. The existence of Zhutian chat groups may allow Chen Mo to see a broader future. Otherwise, just staying in the world of obscurity, even if Chen Mo has full-level understanding, it is probably impossible for him to reach the true endpoint. Since the Zhutian chat group has given such an opportunity, let's seize it well, Chen Mo whispered. Anyway, from now on, for Chen Mo, the Zhutian chat group only has benefits, and even for members of the Zhutian and Wanjia, although their world will be affected, they can change their destiny on their own, that is a fact. Firstly, the Zhutian chat group can invite the first batch of members. The Zhutian chat group is not about pulling all members of the Zhutian and Wanjia into the group at once, but about pulling in batches and influencing them one by one. Inviting members of the heavens. As Chen Mo's mind moved, Chen Mo seemed to feel the power of the chat group penetrating into the heavens and realms with an extremely mysterious force. It was during the exploration of the heavens and realms, and finally determined who the first group of members were fishing for. And this power has already surpassed the power system that exists in the world of obscurity. Not to mention the ancient emperor, even the immortal emperor or even a stronger existence cannot feel this intangible and mysterious power. Anyway, even with Chen Mo's level of comprehension, he can only feel a vast expanse. Obviously, this power also surpasses Chen Mo's full-level understanding. Of course, Chen Mo also does not believe that his full-level understanding system is inferior to chat groups. After all, as his strength improves, his full-level understanding ability will also continue to improve. With every improvement in strength, Chen Mo's intelligence can make a leap. However, regarding how much his intelligence can be improved, Chen Mo's strength has not yet made a breakthrough, and he cannot have a very intuitive feeling. After all, Chen Mo used to possess the power of the quadrupole realm, but now he is also in the quadrupole realm and has not yet made a breakthrough. Ding, congratulations to Xiong Ba for joining the Zhutian chat group. Ding, congratulations to Zhang Sanfeng for joining the Zhutian chat group. Ding, congratulations, join the Zhutian chat group. Ding, congratulations to Lin Pingji for joining the Zhutian chat group. In Chen Mo's ear, 4 voices rang out, indicating that 4 members had been pulled into the chat group. Xiong Ba said, "Who is this? Who is teasing me? I am the leader of the world. Don't let me know who you are. The world of wind and clouds, the world will meet." Xiong Ba sat on his throne, scanning the disciples of the Tianxia Guild below. Xiong Ba is very satisfied with the current situation of Tianxia Hui. From an ordinary global power, through these years, it has risen to become one of the top forces in this world. This is enough to demonstrate his ability. Of course, his disciples are also indispensable for the rapid development of the world. Qin Shuang, Bu Jingyun, and Nie Feng are the 3 disciples he has taken in. Especially for the disciples Bu Jingyun and Nie Feng, it reminded Xiong Ba of the criticism from Mud Bodhisattva back then. Gold scales are not things in the pool, they transform into dragons when they encounter wind and clouds. Perhaps the ups and downs among them were his 2 disciples, because the rise of the world society was similar to the time when he took in these 2 disciples. And the qualifications of these 2 members are also extraordinary. In a short period of time, he has grown into a top-skilled player in the martial arts world. But now in this world, there is still a force that opposes it, and that is, there are no twin cities. Chapter 10. Land Immortal Realm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There are no twin cities. The power led by Dugu's side. Many strong players in the martial arts world serve in Wushuang City. This is partly due to the strength of Dugu's side, and partly due to the prestige of Dugu's brother. Dugu's brother is the famous swordsman Dugu Sword. Dugu Jian, who is the descendant of Wushuang Jian, was born with a sword obsession. At the age of 5, he learned swordsmanship, became famous in a battle at the age of 9, and suddenly understood swordsmanship at the age of 13. It can be said that he is the true swordsman of this world. Once, with the help of the Holy Spirit sword technique, he directly slaughtered all the top killer organizations in the world, leaving only the remaining 12 demons of Tianqi to escape. This point. Even the world guild leader Xiong Ba, who now occupies half of the country, is renowned, but the martial arts world does not consider Xiong Ba Hui to be a match for the sword saint Dugu Jian. This is the illustrious reputation achieved by the lone sword. At that time, this swordsman was able to dominate the entire world. However, in the final battle between Dugu Jian and Tianjian Wuming, Dugu Jian was defeated. But because the heavenly sword Nameless is even more astonishing, no one says that the strength of Dugu's sword is not strong. It can only be said that the unnamed strength of that heavenly sword is too terrifying. Initially, with each person wielding a sword, Zhu Wushan and his subordinates were directly blocked at Shanhaiguan, preventing them from entering Shenzhou for 10 years. You should know that in future generations, Zhu Wushan will easily invade the divine realm, and the world will not be their opponent at all. From this point, it is enough to illustrate how amazing the strength of Nameless was in the beginning. So it seems normal for the Sword Saint Association to fail. That's exactly why, when it comes to the World Conference, the one that can be compared to it is Wushuang City. As the leader of the World Association, Xiong Ba really wanted to destroy Wushuang City. He gathered his disciples and high-level members of the World Association to discuss how to solve the problem. But during the meeting, Xiong Ba unexpectedly heard a strange sound in his ear. This made his brow furrow. Who dares to deliver a message to him at this critical moment? A cold breath spread from the tyrant, and he wanted to find out who it was, but to his surprise, he couldn't find out who was actually transmitting the message to him. Below. Many disciples of the Tianxia Association were somewhat frightened, and their leader suddenly became so angry. Ding, there has been no response for a long time, so I forcibly entered the chat group. A familiar voice rang out in Xiongba's ear once again. After this, a strange scene appeared in front of Xiongba. To Chen Mo, this scene is very familiar, just like a chat app in the modern world, but to a tyrant, it is simply a monster. Why did such a thing suddenly appear in front of him? Then Xiongba raised questions like before. Zhang Sanfeng said, "This is really a very interesting thing. The old Taoist has lived for so long and it's also his first time encountering it. Heaven-leaning world." Zhang Sanfeng was practicing as usual. It is even more difficult to further his current level of strength. But as a great master, Zhang Sanfeng still wants to see if he can break through that crucial step. That is the realm of land immortals. It is said that after the great master, this is the realm. But over the long years, no one has ever broken through and become a land god. Suddenly, Zhang Sanfeng's gaze changed slightly. He heard a sound in his ear. Zhutian chat group invitation. Zhang Sanfeng whispered, with a hint of light in his eyes. This is quite interesting. As an old Taoist who has lived for nearly 100 years, he can be certain that it is not the transmission of a certain martial arts figure. If not, then is it a deity? As the founder of Wudang sect, Zhang Sanfeng did not absolutely deny the existence of gods. Even more so, generally speaking, martial arts practitioners have a greater belief in gods. So accept the invitation. Zhang Sanfeng did not hesitate like Xiongba, he directly chose to join the chat group. Seeing a strange scene in front of him, Zhang Sanfeng's surprised expression showed a hint of anticipation. Obviously, this may be a product of the gods. Is there really a deity in this world? So aside from anything else, Zhang Sanfeng may have a chance to break through the realm of land immortals. The Tang Dynasty world. In a quaint courtyard. A woman dressed in thin white clothes, barefoot with jade feet, walked on the ground. Under the moonlight, the woman looked like an elf visiting the world, with a stunning radiance. This person is exactly the descendant of the Yin Gui sect. The Yin Gui sect is known as the demon sect in this world, and is a force targeted by the righteous path. In other words, the Yin Gui faction belongs to the villain in a certain situation. This courtyard is a temporary residence of the Yin Gui faction. With a creak opening from the side, a handsome middle-aged man walked out from inside. He is the younger brother of Zhu Yuyan, who is known for his love for flowers and lust. He once raped Zhu Yuyan's own daughter. But Bian Baiyang was not resolved by Zhu Yuyan. On the one hand, it is because Zhu Yuyan is not attentive to her daughter, and on the other hand, Bian Bu's strength is indeed good, which also has a great impact on the Yin Gui sect. This is also the reason why Mo Yin Bian is able to survive. At this moment, this person's gaze turned to Yan, with a hint of fiery radiance in his eyes. It turns out that my nephew has returned, Bian Baiyang smiled. Master Uncle is always ready for what he promised you before. Thank you very much, Senior Uncle. Yan smiled lightly and then walked towards a room in the courtyard where her teacher Zhu Yuyan was located. But as he turned around, there was a hint of coldness in his eyes. Mo Yin Bian coveted her body, and she naturally knew. Bian Bu lived up to what she said, which is also known as assisting her in practicing Tianma Gong. I have no interest in this. When she pushed open the door and just walked in, her eyes showed a hint of surprise. A strange sound rang in her ear. Invitations from the Zhutian chat group.